we're digging a basement about 200 days after I thought we were going to be digging a basement.
Don't try this at home.
This is going on Rusty Judgment.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Rusty Judgment. I can hardly contain myself because today is basement day. We are having a basement dug today after a very long period of time. And so I'm just headed out to the lots right now. I'm just about there. We have a couple concerns here. What could happen? It's supposed to rain later today, which I talked to these guys and they're like, oh, it'll be fine. But I do realize we are digging a hole right now. And if it rains, that'll turn into a pond. So there's a concern of mine. Also, they kind of just told me that they ran into a tile line right through the middle of the house. So we got to look at that and talk about that. There they are, digging a hole. I think the shovel's going to be at a tile line. Oh, there it is. Oh, that direction, huh? Huh, interesting. Alright, there's my hole. It's not going to be real deep. And then the tile line we found. Never built a house. Never done plans for a home. Never, like, Dawn and I have talked and envisioned these kinds of things forever. Never thought, I guess never really believed we would actually do it. And I am a professional jack of all trades, master of none. I think there's lots of us out there. If you are one of me, you question most things you do. And when you get professionals involved, then you definitely start to get a little concerned and worried if you actually know what you're doing or not. So we found a tile line in the middle of the basement, which actually ends up not being that big of a deal. My father-in-law came out because he's awesome. First off, thanks off, Mark. So what we're going to do is the tile line kind of cuts through the corner of the house, but it's actually kind of awesome where it cuts through because the corner that the tile line runs in is actually where the sump basket will be in the basement. What happens is the tile line, this was a farm field, so tile lines, they run them through the field to take water out from the field and draw it to a low point or a creek or something like that so they can farm better. Past Tom, I decided to show this here. So what I was saying there about the sump basket, right? So currently, here's our plans. First off, plans. Sump basket is right there. That tile line ended up running like right through the house like this and then out that way. It's kind of the route it took. So what we did, which worked out good because how my father-in-law helped. So this is kind of a layout of how it will play out in the basement. You get this color is rock, this is tile line, and then it's actually not like this where it's a step up. The tile line actually runs straight through the footer, and then it will run into a basket. Then from here, water will drain into there, it will get pumped up out here, and then out the house, which then in a future video you will see, I already have it done now, but in a future video you'll see that we reroute it from running straight through the house like there, and it runs this way and out, and then we tie this one into that one. So when water around the foundation drains into that basket, it'll pump up and out into the new tile line that we routed and out. Okay, all right, back to past Tom. And then it will run it like way out in the field out there is the direction it heads, and then beyond that is a creek like way out there. So I think it'll work out well because any bit of water that ever could enter this home will hit the basket, then get pumped out and way out of here. And then won't have a wet spot anywhere in the yard where it's pumping water to, or to our other lot over there. We want, because that's kind of the direction water flows naturally on the soil. It's a great problem. It's a problem. So it's another thing to work through. The solution isn't actually that painful. if that makes sense. We're digging a basement about 200 days after I thought we were going to be digging a basement. Turns out I don't know a lot about all this stuff, but the process has been a challenge. Okay, so here's what I sent to our township. All right, so here's essentially just the whole layout of everything. And then this was the existing house. That's the current layout of the house that we purchased. Here's the proposed layout of the basement underneath that house. And then here's just like a site map of the property, house, future garage, well locations, septic system, and then secondary. In our area, we need a backup location. So this is a mound system. So there'll be 3 septic tanks here, and then mound system. And then this is a backup system that you have to have allocated so that if your primary system ever fails, they need to know that you have enough like property with the correct soil to be able to build a secondary system. So that was all great to get our permits. But once I had the permit, or I guess I take it back. Once I had the approval with the township to do what we're wanting to do, then it went to an inspection company who then looks at all the information and says, okay, well, we need this, we need this, we need this, we need this, in order for us to give you an actual permit, which I was wildly confused about. It took about 2.5 months to get through our township for this. So then I had to hire a planner who actually would I gave him all the information, then he took it all and then he drew it up. So here again, this is basically what I did, only better, right? So he put the mechanicals and everything in there. We have an egress window here. So apparently I didn't know this. We needed a concrete egress window well, which I still think to this day is overkill. I think we should have been able to just bolt one on the side of the house. So that these egress windows these will not be egress windows because the elevation of how we hiked the house up, I wanted to avoid doing window wells there. This is just information for the egress. This is actually completely irrelevant. But then this page is kind of where it starts to come together. So here's this is kind of information for the concrete guys where they got to do footings. So the footings are on the whole thing, but then this is an extra, and then a big pad there. They're making me put a 25-foot steel I-beam in there, which I again think is overkill because the original house had nothing there. They just had like a 2x8 across all that. So I think that's overkill in my opinion, but it's what I was told I have to do, so it's what I have to do. And then on this page is when it's kind of like pretty, like you kind of get a feel for what I drew. Then on the back side, this is what I provided, and here's what we got. So it's just all the scale basically. Egress window for a future 4th bathroom. 2 windows like I sketched out. So then this is the front. The guy didn't draw any of the stuff of the house in, which is fine. But so this is original ground right here. Right there's original ground. So as you can see, I'm bringing in a lot of fill to give it some shape and character. Again, back here too. So this probably won't actually be this far over. The ground will probably come this way and then up over in here because I'm bringing in so much fill. So anyway, you kind of get the idea of what it's going to look like. Here's the front of the house. Here's the south end of the house. That would be this side over there. And then this is the back side. So there's windows and all that here. He just didn't draw it. So, but along with all this, so then I got this. So we took a couple months to get passed through the township. Then it took another 2 weeks to get through this. And then they tell me, okay, well now you need a site map. And I was like, I got a site map. They tell me, no, it needs to be done by a survey company because we need to see the elevations of the ground in that area. We need to see, the survey company needs to actually stake out where the house is going to go, and the garage and the septic and the well and all that stuff. They actually need to pound poles in the ground where they're actually going to be done. And then they also wanted to see all the elevations. So I can't think where a copy of that's at. But so it's essentially this, only done by a survey company, and then there's like pinpoints all over the property on the printed map saying what the elevations are. That's it. That was another week and a half and more money. Kind of felt like at the end of this that it just, like, everyone needed to be paid. That's what it felt like. So anyway, that's how we got a permit. 3+ months, 4 months later than I thought we were getting permits. All that information was in addition to like a whole bunch of other stuff that I had to provide, which I guess isn't that big of a deal, except for the fact that no one would answer any questions as far as like, what exactly do you guys need? Like, what do you need for the township? What do you need for permits? Like, who, there was no, it was a good learning experience and a good education. I'm glad that now I know what to do. But for someone who's never built a house or applied for a permit in any fashion, it was super frustrating. And again, it took forever. Like, I thought we were going to be doing everything you're seeing this spring. Not right before Thanksgiving. If you can see this guy right there down in the hole, he is down about 5 feet. I believe 4 feet, 5 feet, something like that. So we're doing 9-foot sidewalls. So the basement will stick 5 feet out of the ground, and then the house will sit on top of that. So she's gonna be pretty high, if you can all see what I'm talking about. We're doing that for multiple reasons. There is not really any interest to this property. It is all just flat. We have a couple good things about raising it high. We're doing lookout windows in the basement, so the basement should feel more like a main level because it'll have big windows. And then we're bringing in a ridiculous amount of fill from our property, from down to my personal residence, to bring up the elevation around 2 sides of the house. And then we're going to slope it all really good so that water just kind of sheds every which direction except for the house. And then that will bring some like aesthetic and some appeal to the property because it's just flat. It should bring the bottom of the house, like the main level of the home, to about the same height as the road in front of the property. The next day, I'm headed out to the lots to see the progress on the basement. It rained yesterday afternoon and last night, and I'd say I'm fairly confident that I'm gonna go find a pond. So we'll see if I was right or not. Wow. I'm actually really surprised. It's not wet. That's crazy. I totally thought that this was gonna be a pond, but it's not. I wonder where the tile line went. So he dug a ramp coming out for the semi. So the semi is gonna come up the road and then up the driveway with the house on it. So it's gonna be a semi pulling the house on a trailer behind it, right? Then it's gonna come up here and they're gonna loop around and they're gonna dive down into the basement here and then drive out here. So the truck will be sitting like here. And then they're gonna hike the house up right here. But yeah, this looks good. You should not be building a house. This looks like way too much work. This guy is in over his head. Dude, I know I am. Did I not say that I'm a jack of all trades, master of none? I know I don't know what I'm doing. What? How many loads of fill is that gonna be? I bet you this guy's gonna haul in 100 semi-loads of fill. You can't build anything on that. He's right, it's actually, it's more than that.